Welcome everybody to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? Ubisoft, Tencent, and they're going to make an ugly baby. All right, before we get rolling, make sure you hit those like and subscribes and all the good stuff. All right, so let's dive into this. Ubisoft founding family member, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but it sounds like Gilmot, and shareholder Tencent are reportedly considering teaming up to take the company private following a number of high-profile video game flops and the collapse of its share price. So Bloomberg reports that both parties are speaking with advisors in a bid to stabilize Ubisoft after shares in the company fell 54% this year. The publication qualifies this by saying these exploratory talks may end up going nowhere, and a buyout is not the only option being discussed. Ubisoft declined to comment. Now, the Gilmot, whatever family, including the Ubisoft boss, Yves, Bill, whatever the hell his name is, hold just over 20% of the Ubisoft shares, with Tencent owning just over 9%. At the time of this article's publication, shares in Ubisoft are rebounded a whopping 26.33%. So they threw out a rumor, stocks go up. That's a load of horse crap, but that's the way stock market works. Ubisoft has had a pretty rough year. X-Defiant, getting its butt handed to them. Star Wars Outlaws, everybody going pissy about that one. And it delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows to 2025. So Ubisoft, and me personally, it's not just this year. I think Pat will agree. They've been having issues for many bloody years. And they're not doing themselves any favors with a lot of the decisions that they make. Now, anybody who knows Tencent, they're, I'm going to put this in the most polite way I can. They're a bag of rubber dog shit. I don't like Tencent. They came around during COVID, a little before, a little after, somewhere right in there. And they were just some company that popped up buying other game developers and companies. Square Enix sold them, I think it was Tomb Raider and a few other big ones that, they own now. So I don't know who this company is, but they have not been doing a good job because a lot of the companies that they purchased, they've been shutting down as well. So we're just got to kind of wait and see what's going to happen with this. Now, if this is true and it does come to fruition that they become, a family-owned business by Tencent and a non-traded company, I don't know how that's going to affect things. I don't think they realize their problem is not anybody but them. They're their problem. I mean, they keep stubbing their toe and walking right back at the same coffee table. So let's go to Pat, since Nick decided he was going to go to a wedding and get all pretty so he can kiss our butt tonight. So, Pat, what do you think? Do you think Tencent will actually do it? I mean, they're a billion-dollar corporation, so it's not like they don't have funds.
This all seems like a well-thought-out plot to inflate their stock so some people can get out before it tanks.
Yeah, I was thinking that GameStop kind of thing.
Yeah, except for that wasn't really that wasn't like insider investor thing. That was a whole like community trying to screw over short sellers in the market. And this feels more like, somebody fidgeting with the market, throwing out a rumor that Ubisoft could take themselves public or take themselves private again, which then means to buy up all the shares and all that stuff. So people are like, "Ooh, get in there so I can get my stock prices up," and it jumped up to, I think, 33.5% or whatever when the news was announced that day, and it's fallen back down in the 20s. But enough time for people to just bail out. They wanted to get out before the stock really takes the bottom, right? It seems fabricated. I'm pretty sure it probably will. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I just think, and I'm with you, it's pretty much everything Tencent touches these days kind of they're in the same boat as the Embracer Group. They're just not quite as bad. Tencent's fairly large and they can pump out a lot of money into whatever they want. But at the same time, if Tencent gives you money, they pretty much own you at that point. So Ubisoft's not going to be family owned anymore. It's family owned in name only. Tencent really is pulling the strings in the background. And I would agree with you. They've made a lot of bonehead moves. Like in this day and age, why would you limit your player base by doing something like putting Outlaws on Epic only? It seems to me asinine. Like to me, that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, they must have got some sweetheart deal or something, but the largest PC gaming market belongs to Steam by a long shot. And I'm one of those gamers who keeps my library on Steam because I don't want to have to hunt for my game. Like, oh yeah, I forgot that one's on Steam, on Epic, or that one's in, Ubisoft's own launcher, or that one's in, EA's freaking launcher that they had, Origin back in the day, or, and all this stuff. And, and in the end, what really sucks is that any one of those platforms, you don't own the game. So you're essentially leasing it, because they can decide to shut down the service of letting you download the game and shutting it off of their storefront, and then you can no longer access it, So if you don't believe me, you need to read the EULA for like Steam and any of these. You do not own any of those games that you purchase. It smells fishy. I don't think they will take it private, but I could be wrong. I don't have insider knowledge or anything, but it's, any rumors that affect the stock market, just say, hey, and then it drops down pretty low again, is people getting out, right? People are like, hey, I had it when it was $12 or whatever a share, and it went up to $15.50, and now I'm bailing, and I had thousands of shares. Well, guess what? It's made a few $1,000 or hundreds of thousands of shares or whatever. I don't know how much. I know Tencent's a minority stakeholder, and they probably pumped a crap ton of money in to get that minority stake. So I don't know. It sounds fishy. I think it's fishy, and I don't believe it will happen. I don't know how much money the Gilmont family or Gilmont brothers are, whatever, that own the company, but do they have enough money to take that company private again? I don't know. Sounds fishy and fake to me, but it all sounds like a ploy. And anything to do with Ubisoft these days is just shady anyway. Every time you hear something with Ubisoft, their whole NFT program, that was a failure. I mean, they've been shitting for the last 6 or 7 years and not getting off the pot. The NFTs and all this stuff that's just a failure after a failure after failure. That's because Ubisoft does one thing and one thing only. They make a game with the kitchen sink thrown at it. I mean, that's their whole theme is open world, open world, open world, open world, and go collect this, go collect that. Artificially inflate our 20 or 30 hour game into 120 hours because there's so much side collection crap in the game. When it was out, when it first came out, it was fun. They've done fun stuff. Like Odyssey is probably one of my more favorite Assassin's Creed games, and that game was massive and full of stuff. But I did not like Valhalla. The only interest in Shadows is just because it's just it's samurais and ninjas and all that stuff, and I'm like, that sounds cool, but I still don't know if I'm going to buy it. And then Outlaws, I would have bought Outlaws because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm not buying it on Epic. I just am not. If it was on Steam, I'd own it. And I guarantee you they'll see an uptick in sales if they move it over to Steam, because I heard that they pulled their exclusive rights with Epic, so now their games will come back to Steam starting. I don't remember what the date was, but eventually games will be back on Steam, and it'll probably be on sale, and I'll get it on sale. Just check it out because I really want to play it. I like Star Wars. And it's a Star Wars game without Jedi, so that's gonna, where you don't play a Jedi, I should say, which is cool. I like that. I want to be in the Star Wars universe and not have to worry about me playing a Jedi, because all that stuff. So to me, it seems fishy and shady, and it's like we're gonna leak this information just to, get stock price up. So to me, that's about all, because like I said, after that, their stock jumped up, and then it went back down. It went, it jumped up 35%. And I think it's sitting at 26% up from the time of the announcement. So a lot of people jumped out when it got up there.
Yeah.
and stabilizing the company. The only reason you're stabilizing the company at that point is because your investors have no faith in you, and gamers have no faith in you, to that matter, right? You have to stabilize your company because you're hemorrhaging money because nobody wants to buy your games because you're putting out stuff that nobody really wants, or you're making boneheaded exclusivity moves, which in this day and age, there should not be a reason to do exclusivity. I don't care how much money Epic offered them or discounts or whatever. You lost a chunk of your player base. Like, how much harder was it to, and this is more for console side, because PC side, it's just what storefront am I going to put it on, right? On the console side, how many of my fan base is on Xbox versus PlayStation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you let the fans decide that, and you just say, I'm coding to both, and we'll make the money from both, right? The investment cost is not that much higher. Now, I will say Microsoft's problem is the S, and more companies come out and say that they'll have to listen, right? Well, they don't have to listen, but I think they will listen, because their gaming model is in trouble if they don't do something. That's why they made the whole announcement earlier in the week about we're looking for developer feedback from developers on developing on Xbox. And if you don't put on Xbox, they really want to hear from you to say, why aren't you putting your games on our system? Which should tell you that they have no freaking clue. And in my opinion,
it's a little late for that question too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it'll be the next Xbox that doesn't exist. It's a streaming service by then, and everybody will abandon it because our internet infrastructure is not good enough for a streaming service only, which is why the ones that have came out have gone the way of the dodo, and there's just a few clingers left out there that are eking it by, or not even really eking it by, but they're just being propped up by their parent company. So, but for me, it smells like a scam. Sounds like a fishy scam, or just a way for them to get their little golden parachutes, get a little bit of money into the stock market before they tank completely.
Yeah. So I Googled it up. Yves Guillemot, his net worth is around 22 million as of right
now. So he doesn't have enough to buy out their stock.
No, he don't.
But I don't know what the Guillemot, it's like Guillemot brothers or whatever.
Yeah, it's a whole family thing, but it's primarily the two brothers, from what I understand. It's such an oddity article, because I mean, that'd be like Johnson & Johnson come out, hey, we may have a cure for genital warts. The stocks are going to skyrocket. Then, 2 weeks later, turned out, it cured your genital warts, but it made your balls fall off. Kind of disappointment. So it definitely feels fishy. I agree with you. It sounds more like a prop to prop up those margins than anything. But if it's not, and it does go through, I think that's going to be the end of Ubisoft. I think, as far as a company themselves, I think Tencent would dismantle them, sell out the franchise, what franchises they own, to various publishers, developers, maybe, and then they'll keep what they think will make money. That's it. Problem with companies like Tencent is they're not about game development. They're not about publishing. They're about profits, plain simple, to the point. That's why what they buy typically die. And I did not mean to rhyme that. It just came out that way. So, I don't want to see Tencent buy them. I don't. I want to see Ubisoft turn things around.
I think it's too late. They're set in their ways.
I agree.
They're like the Pepperidge Farm, Werther's original eating dude that doesn't want to change, right? I mean, so it says that they have a market.
To remember what they were used to make is what they needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, Ubisoft has a market capitalization of 1.78 billion euros, so they're worth quite a bit still.
Yeah, but what were they 5 years ago?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, right now they went from $2.20 some odd cents a share to like $3 and something. So they
almost
at least they almost doubled, but they added about 75 cents onto their stock per, so since the announcement, and I think they used to be back in like the end 2019, right before COVID or right around COVID. I think they were up around $20 a share back then. So it's a long way to go in like 4 or 5 years, right? So
That is a long way to fall.
yeah.
But,
So
worst comes to worst, we're just not going to have the same shitty game every year. That's literally the worst of it. Ubisoft has some of the greatest titles in my gaming life, and they've dropped the bomb on all of that. And now they only make certain things, and they only make games in certain ways. And every game is the same. Their shooters, their strategy, their adventure. It's all the same thing. Like you said,
open world
kitchen sink.
exploration.
And open world is great, but everybody went to open world. Everybody did. And it was a way to pad their games of content. Um, you know, when they made shit, freaking Rainbow Six Siege, that was
Milk the shit out of that game.
but that was more turning back to what they were, but they reinvented it as well, and granted, that's not our biggest cup of tea. We played it for a long ass time, but it's, it may not be our biggest cup of tea, but it was a good game. It was a fun game, and it still is for many, many people, because I think they went back to more of a the roots of the series, but they also modified it and they made tweaks to make it, a little more modern, a little more uh, uh, appealing to younger audiences, as well as the original Rainbow Six players. So that's what they did right, and that's the only thing they've done right in decades. So it's all on them, and it's not going to change, no matter if they get bought up, if they sold, if they made all their money back somehow off of the next Assassin's Creed. They're not going to change their ways. That's their problem, is they're just not going to do it. Like you said, they are stubborn. They are the two old men sitting on the park bench watching long-haired hippie people fly by. They just don't like change, and they're not going to do it. So.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and it ain't going to change anything. But let us know what you think. Pat, you got anything else?
Nope. I mean, at this point, I'm just over Ubisoft and all the games they put out with. So Tencent, buy them. Tencent, help them go private. I don't care anymore.
Ubisoft is hard up if they're going to consider this. So, hey, that was a pun.
And they
I
are.
didn't catch that.
It's a far fall from where they used to be back in 2018, 2019 in 4 or 5 years. So they've fallen quite a ways because they just put out shit anymore.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, you made it to the end. So guess what? Give us your feedback. Tell us what you think. Do you want to see a company like Tencent buy up Ubisoft? What do you think the ramifications are going to be of that? Do you think it's a big lie, a big puddle of shit that they're doing just to kind of beef up their stocks a little bit? Let us know in the comments below. Also, like I said at the beginning, hit the like, hit the share, hit subscribe, hit all those wonderful notifications. And until next time, see ya.